Wow.
Phenomenal deal.
No,
Like,
I mean, that's
I was
amazing.
dapping on my manager. I was like, girl, absolutely.
That's
like,
amazing. And then a lot of brands like whitewash the people that send the content in.
We love the content you post. Like, it would go so well with our cleaning product. And I'm like,
And you're like,
I've never cleaned in a video in my life. Probably 3,000.
with the ad usage as well.
Ooh, we're looking at 5 to 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, definitely. What's your name and what type of content do you create?
Yeah, so I'm Nikki Rossi, and I do very girly, feminine fashion and travel kind of around Europe, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and you?
I'm Diana, and I would say primarily fashion and lifestyle. It's definitely moved a little more into travel, just living in different places, but I wouldn't say that's my main aspect of my content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What led you to start creating, and what has been your experience so far?
So I started when I was still in uni, so back in like end of 2016, 2017, and a friend of mine was a college ambassador for a jewelry company that was by our school, and so she asked around for people that might want to take pictures for this jewelry brand, and I had already like been shopping there, so I was like, yeah, sure, like you get free jewelry, take a few pictures, but I never posted on social media other than like birthdays or anything like that. So I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but then I interned for that company over the summer, and then they pushed me to start a blog because they really liked the pictures I was doing for them and everything, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. It never was the plan to do this. It just kind of happened, which is
That's
cool.
really nice, yeah.
And what led you to start creating?
So for me, I started blogging in 2015 as an outlet because I was majoring in biology, and I was like, oh, I don't love this, but I know my parents want me to do this type thing. Yeah, exactly. So I had a blog from 2015 to about 2020, and then 2020 I started posting on Instagram. In 2015, my friend was like, you should post on Instagram. I'm like, no, like it's so oversaturated. I can't be a blogger. What are you talking about? And then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, I'll just try it. And then I started posting on TikTok around 2021 and just started consistently posting from there, and eventually quit my job to start doing it full time last year.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's very similar to mine because when I started college, I went in undecided. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just kind of fell into things.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell into this as well, which I think just aligns with everything that's ever happened to my adult life. Is something happens and it just pushes forward. It's never something I'm trying to search for myself. And yeah, it's been interesting. Same with TikTok. I was already on Instagram for years, but then it's like I downloaded it because everyone else was downloading it at the beginning of 2020, and I was like, I'm never gonna post on this.
Same.
And then I'm scrolling, then I'm like, maybe I could do that, and then it just happened.
Yeah, I was so against posting on TikTok and downloading it. I would always watch it with my sister on her phone. I'm like, I'm never gonna download this app.
I felt like I was too old.
And now it's my career.
Which is so funny to think that, because I think I was like 23 maybe, which is not a way to think that I was too old, but here we are.
Yeah, I hear you.
So off the top of your head, what's your favorite brand collab and why?
I would say probably Bister Collection, because I've worked with a bunch of their different villages, and I get to travel with them, which is probably why it's my favorite. So I've been to Barcelona with them, Milan with them, London, Dublin, and they have other villages across as well. And they're just like different shopping villages. So it's definitely my favorite, and I love working with the team. Like they're all so great. Yeah.
I love Bister. I went this weekend actually.
Oh really?
So,
Did you get anything?
Yes, I went to Sweaty Betty, I think, and I got some like leggings because I've been trying to add to my athleisure.
Yeah.
Because it's all just like I have like 3 pairs of leggings.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good place to go.
I needed more.
What's your favorite brand collab?
Okay, so my favorite one is probably a dress company called Mila. It's a Ukrainian brand, and they started as just like a bridal company, so they only did like gowns and things like that. And then they kind of created like a sister brand where it's more dresses, like evening gowns or like bridesmaids and things like that. And in 2022, in 2022, I ended up getting to go to France, like right outside of Paris, and they had kind of an influencer collab. So only influencers were the models in the shots. So there was like a big travel influencer couple that were like having their wedding, a fake wedding.
Okay.
And then all the bridesmaids and the groomsmen were like, either the groomsmen I think were all like models, and then all the women were influencers. So they had us come. So but it was also a collab, so it wasn't just like a trip.
Yeah.
And then since then I've worked with them a few other times, and if I need anything, they're always super sweet. So that's probably my favorite one because it just matches my style a lot.
That's fair. That's really cool though. Also a fake wedding?
Yeah, I mean, they were engaged, so like
Okay.
it was good. Like they're a travel couple, so it
Yeah.
aligned with their content, and I think that was what was really cool is everyone that was there, it aligned perfectly with what they already did.
Yeah.
And it showed that they did a lot of research, because I find a lot of times brands,
brands
don't do any
don't.
research.
Yes.
And you end up in events or collabs or places that you're like,
Or even
why
the
am I here?
emails, like the reach
Yeah.
out, they're like, we love the content you post, like it would go so well with our cleaning product. And I'm like,
And you're like-
I've never cleaned in a video in my life.
My favorite is when I get like, we're looking for people between 30 and 35 with children, and I'm like,
Who did you
where
send
did you
this
see
to?
a child?
Yeah,
There's no children here. How did this
Yes.
happen? So yeah. So it was really nice that it was like very aligned to me. And I'd never gone on a trip where they paid for the travel and paid for everything. And it was really nice because I felt like for the first time that I felt like it was worth doing all of this for a company because they put it back into you.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
that's my favorite one.
Okay. Do you prefer complete creative freedom or a big budget? That's a great question.
Okay, two things with this one, I think, is because I find that organic content is obviously how people find you, because people don't want to watch ads.
Right.
Which is fair, because
Yeah.
I get it. And a lot of times they can be really annoying and very much sales, and that is off-putting to just someone that finds your account. So organic content is where I've found my audience, and my audience has found me, which is amazing. But obviously I do love when something's really extravagant and planned out, like that Milanova shoot, because obviously that was very big budget and planned out, and it was amazing. But organic content is how I think you really find the people that want to find you, which is really special, especially for a job. You want to find
Right.
people that support you, and then also align with what you're doing and fall into that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think?
Being a tourist, I'm going to say big budget. But I also think when brands reach out, if they get to know you, like if they do their research, will reach out to you and kind of give you creative freedom already.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because they want it to do well, and they know that like a scripted ad is not going to do well. So they're like, oh, why don't you do the what's in my cart version, but for us? And I'm like, that's perfect. Like we align so well there. If the budget happens to be big, that's
Yeah.
amazing. But I think the people behind the brands are smart enough to know like what's going to work is that creator doing their own content and just integrating the brand into it as well.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
one of my goals this year, is to have more jobs where it felt natural and it wasn't just like, here's this item that I got and I hope that you really like it
Yeah.
and I really like it.
Yes.
And then, because it doesn't give anything and it's not personal, I am trying to do more where it's kind of integrated into what is already happening, and it's not just like, buy this, I'm selling this is this, because I'm not a sales girl. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not what I do this for, so it's really nice when it integrates smoothly.
I
So,
agree. I was just talking to my manager about how sometimes I think it's kind of hard to work with new brands that you haven't used before, worn before, any of that, because I don't want to come off as like, I don't want to be like, buy this product, I've actually only had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I also want to
Yeah.
work with new brands. And she was just saying, she's like, well, you can always, like, we can work with the brand and you can try the product and then you can share your opinion on it and then you can do an ad for it and all of that, which is really nice. But I think that's kind of a tough line to walk because, again, you don't want to just be pushing things out just to push them out.
Exactly.
So-
I've only had 2 brands, I think, ever do that, and they were both for beauty, so it was like hair care.
Yeah.
So they sent over the whole line a month before they ever wanted me to do anything,
Okay.
just to see, first off, if it actually worked for my hair, because you never know with beauty and skincare and hair care, because it just might not work. You could react to it. It could
Right.
do something, and so it was really nice that I had to kind of trial it out, and figure it out if it actually worked for me before telling people this works.
Right.
Which, because we don't want to share things that don't actually work with people. If you had to pick one outcome in a collab, which would you choose? Would you rather have a tight turnaround or delayed payment?
Okay, depends how delayed, because some brands you have to chase after, which is, I'm like, I don't know. But I think tight turnaround, because I feel like I'm financially responsible enough that a delayed payment wouldn't affect me.
Yes.
And I don't mind a tight turnaround because I'd rather get it done and have to do revisions and stuff rather than like dragging out and waiting. And I just like getting things done and crossed off. So tight turnaround.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard. I feel like a lot of these questions for me are going to be, it depends on the
Yes.
season.
Like if.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for my content, I do best in the spring and summer.
Okay.
And so if something is a tight turnaround in the spring and summer and they need sunlight and they need blue skies and that kind of thing, I'm like, oh, sure, I can do that. But for example, if it's like a holiday campaign and they want something that depends on the weather or location, it's way harder to make it happen. And so sometimes with that, I kind of would prefer delayed payment because then I at least have the freedom to get it done when I can and I have time to plan it out.
That's fair.
Because I think my content is so planned. It's very cohesive, and if something's like slightly out of place, it kind of throws everything off. And so if they're like, we need it at the end of the week and it's Wednesday, I'm like,
Okay, that's
it's not gonna happen.
You're on your own.
So I'm like, you can't expect that. So for me, it's seasonal.
Okay.
With a lot of my jobs is I need to have like perfect circumstances, which is kind of on me, but also that's what works for me and it works for my content. So yeah.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, what are some of the challenges you face as a creator?
Probably what I just said is that it kind of has to be idealistic. And so I struggle a lot here in London specifically because I need the blue skies and the green grass, and sometimes that just isn't gonna happen, and you can go weeks without it. And for me, since my content is so specific to kind of specific niches, I have to kind of navigate that because there's not going to be as many jobs for me because that's okay. I don't wear neutrals very often. I am not casual at all. And so that kind of cuts out so many brands in all niches, lifestyle, beauty, like fashion. It cuts out so many companies and opportunities. And I've had to use this time, like over the last couple of years, to really be okay and confident in that, and then making sure that I am doing so much while it's spring and summer and I can really benefit off of that, because my timeline for content is a bit shorter than a lot of other creators.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of my main struggle, is knowing that I'm so happy that my niche is so specific, but at the same time, it's hard to branch out after you get to a certain point. So yeah.
That's fair.
What would you say?
I would say, and it's not that big, it hasn't been that big of a problem, but sometimes when I want to film a video or a new series or take some photos, not having someone to do that with, especially being in a new city and not knowing that many people, especially people that are also doing content, I could be like, hey, like, what are you doing today? Can we go shoot? I've gotten really lucky, honestly, but I'd say that's one of the big ones. And then I think just the challenges you face because you're a Black woman in the creative space. You know, like, we all know them, we've all been through them, but it hasn't felt like horrible, you know? It hasn't felt like
I know what you
massive
mean.
obstacles.
Yeah.
But like, I just know they're there. Like, I know that, first of all, I have to advocate for myself a lot harder. So does my manager. I have to make sure my managers are advocating for me a lot more, like, to the brands and all of that. And then I think also just knowing your content is probably not going to do as well as your counterparts, and continuing to post despite like any of that, and showing up into these spaces also, I do feel like you kind of have to show up put together, and like everything needs to be like high quality and stuff just to get traction and everything. Now, I'm not saying people should do that. I just think that's
like
what
we have
works.
to.
Yeah, you feel like you have to, because you're like, I can't show up a mess or else like
No,
we're not
I
going
agree
anywhere.
with literally everything that you just said, because that is something I had to learn last year because I got management for the first time. And so there were different collabs. Like, there was a hair care one where it wasn't their fault at all. It was the brand's fault because they should have done their research. It wasn't my agency or me, but they were expecting, they sent over hair tools. And I have extensions, and they wanted me to do like a shampoo and thing, like shampoo and conditioner kind of thing. And I had clip-ins at the time, so obviously I'm gonna take the clip-ins out to wash my hair with the products, and then when I blow dry it, it's gonna be to my chin. It's not like these long curls that come down my back. And so when they got the content back, they were like, well, we expected Nikki to use the tools in this way and to do this and do this and do this. And my agency was like, well, to be completely honest, like you reached out to Nikki and she has Get Ready With Me's, where you can see that she obviously has this hairstyle and this hair type. And so the fact that you're a bit upset, I'm sorry that it's not what you wanted, but also you could have just scrolled a few videos down and saw this.
That's not going to be what you want.
And so I've had that, obviously, and I'm happy they organize that, because when it's things like that, it's nice that I don't have to be the person to be like, so will my hair, and then, because I feel like we shouldn't have to explain why things don't work for us. And it's kind of a cycle, and I find like in my space a lot, it's getting better now, but there's not that many like Black or brown women that do it, and then a lot of brands like whitewash the people that send the content in. I've had friends that have like had like rings and jewelry collabs, and then the brands like whitened their hand because their face is in it, it's just their hands.
That's crazy.
And brands like that are in this like girly niche have like whitened their hands and things like that, and I'm like, I can't believe that. Like, I couldn't imagine it happening in like more neutral and more casual style for fashion and everything, but in the girly, like, I don't know, I don't like aesthetics that much anymore, but the girly, like coquette, like cottagecore, like all of that stuff. A lot of times, like a lot of the brands don't have any diversity on their team. Not the bigger ones and more like mainstream ones, of course, but the smaller companies that we end up working with, usually because of our style, they tend to like just not have any awareness or care really, and then are like kind of offended when you're like, well, I think you edited this. And they're like, well, it's just the filter that I use. And it's like, well, maybe don't use it.
Right, like, don't wash me out.
Yes, it's not that hard. So that is something, for sure.
Huge on the hair one. I just had a brand ask to come in for like, I think it was a wash and blow dry or something. And I'm like going through their Instagram. I'm like, anybody here have like 4C, 4B even hair? And like, there's no one on their Instagram, even going through their stylist. And here's the thing, their stylists that are white or whatever could probably do my hair. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know. But I also don't see the representation on your page already. So like, how am I supposed to know, and how am I going to trust you to do my hair? Like, that's just not.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
I've been so scared of hair.
I'm always turning down hair.
I'm so scared of hair things because you never know what's going to happen.
And people are like, oh my God, you should work with more hair brands. And I'm like,
you're like, why, what?
Right, it depends.
But do they even know what it looks like?
Exactly.
A lot of times it's not, because the stress that you have to redo something because they were not happy with the result, it's not worth it.
Right, and I also hate doing my own hair, so What are some of your techniques for growing and engaging with your audience?
Yeah, so for me, I find that I grew a lot in 2022 on TikTok and 2021 with doing things that were like pretty much pop culture stuff. So I would do outfits inspired by specific things.
Okay.
So for me, like, it was huge when Taylor Swift was, I mean, she's huge now, obviously, but I would do like outfits inspired by Taylor Swift albums, outfits inspired by Ariana Grande albums, outfits inspired by this movie, this show, whatever. And then that way people are like, oh my gosh, look at her style. And so they can see all my clothes that align in this way without me having to do that much, because it's stuff I already have and I can align with like different groups, like what I'm wearing to Beyonce's concert, like things like that.
Okay.
And it brought in what was trending on TikTok and what everyone's talking about. And so I did it for whenever albums dropped or anything like that.
But that's really smart.
And I mean, they take a long time.
I'm sure. Worth it.
They take so long, but my best video on TikTok is like still pinned. My best ones are those kinds of videos. And so that's kind of what I do, is I use my style to fit into different ways of like pop culture right now. Because again, like I said, like my style is so specific that it's kind of hard to follow trends, but if I can make it just work for me, to even if it's just small, it's enough to connect with an audience.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's my thing. What's yours?
I don't know if I have any specific techniques. I think it's just, of course, like everyone's like, just be consistent. Listen, I say it too, I'll beat it till it's dead. But I think just consistency and then creating series that are specific to me. Like I have a series called Sweets and Sneaks, because like I love sneakers and I love I love sweets so much. And my audience knows that already.
Yeah.
So they're like so tuned into like these series, or Trying in Your 20s is another series, and everyone is just interested to see like what I'm doing next, or like what should I try next,
Yeah.
like I as in them. So I'd say that honestly, it creates new engagement, but also keeps my current followers like engaged and everything. And then sometimes just reels going viral or
Randomly
like doing
viral.
well, like random things like that. But that's really
Yeah.
it. Just like sticking to what I know best.
Yeah, I do that with my dresses. Like if I have a new dress, because they're kind of like gowns, a lot of times like big ball gowns, which again, not practical.
Yeah.
But it'll be like, look at this new dress, and you know, that kind of thing. And so people that are finding me are like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty, it's so cool. And then the people that already follow me are like, oh my gosh, so excited for this next one. And so I've kind of meshed those together.
That's fair.
The same way. What is your creative process when receiving a brief and working with a brand?
It depends, honestly, on the brief, I would say. Again, like going back to what we were saying about creative freedom and big budget, if I have the creative freedom and it is already aligning with my content already, I'll just see what it aligns with best. What's in my cart, a haul, a try on, like whatever it is, a vlog, and then just integrate that. So I think I'll just find the piece of content that makes the most sense, because I don't want it to feel too out of place, and then go back to the brand with that and see what they say. Yeah.
I do the same thing. And I also have been kind of planning out content, not just paid, but also organic in this way this year specifically. It's my goal is to do more trips for content instead of settling for locations that just don't make sense, or I can tell that I'm not happy doing it in that space. So when I'm getting briefs now, I'm also sending out where I'm going, what's happening, like, and this is how my agency is pitching me too, is like, Nikki's going to, I just went to the Cotswolds for Valentine's Day content. So Nikki's going to the Cotswolds, here's what the Airbnb looks like. Here you go. Like, if you like this and you think it aligns with what you have for Valentine's Day, here's what she has. And so this year, that is my goal, is to do that, if not monthly, every other month, so that it just kind of flows cohesively, and I'm in a new space, so I'm more inspired than just like going to Kensington and shooting in front of White Houses, because it's nice, but it gets old. And so, that's my process this year, is doing bigger, not production, because it's just me, but bigger planning and more cohesiveness on my feed and the content that I'm putting out. So
yeah, that's really smart. Game. Okay, using what you've just said, talk us through how you'd work on this brief in 60 seconds. Your aim is to encourage people to book a journey using our ride-sharing service through a 30-second to 1-minute video. Example, you're running late to an interview, you're going to a fancy event where you don't want to drive, or you're on the way to the airport. Your deliverables are 1 video, sharing both on TikTok and Instagram, 1 story set, 3 slides. And your bonus is, what would your rate be for this?
all right, so for me, I would do, like, I'm going to like a fancy dinner or like New York Fashion Week or something like that. And so I physically cannot wear these heels and then get on the tube and go. So I'm calling a rideshare service, and they're picking me up and taking me there. So with that, I'll obviously take imagery of getting into the car, the video of me like running out the house, putting my shoes on. And then in the car, I'm with a friend that's also going with me, or someone that I'm going to dinner with, and they're shooting like flash pics with a digi camera. And then all of those imagery I can like put together into a video for TikTok, but also reels to be reposted. And then the still imagery can go on stories.
Nice.
And then I would charge, for the reel and TikTok together, I do 2,500, and then with the story set, 800 together.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So you're gonna do the same thing that I just did. Talk us through your creative process for this brief in 60 seconds. It's for luxury skincare. So a vegan skincare brand is launching its luxury gifting natural gift sets and wants creators to share the message of sharing, being closer to their loved ones, themselves, or the spaces around them in a creative way. No longer than 30 seconds. Concept example, surprise gift for your favorite person, a self-care ritual with the bathroom. Yeah, a self-care ritual with the bathroom. Deliverables, 1 video with 60 days boosting on TikTok and Instagram. Your bonus is, what would you charge for this?
What are my deliverables? One 30-second
One
video.
video. So you only have 30 seconds to put this together.
Yeah. Okay.
No, sorry, that's 60 seconds. The video is only 30 seconds.
Okay.
I misread it. The video is only 30 seconds. And it's a surprise gift for your favorite person, a self-care ritual within the bathroom. 1 video.
Okay.
60 days boosting on TikTok and Instagram. What's your rate?
Okay, so I would probably do it around the holiday season since everything's gifting season. And I would probably do it to something a little more unexpected, maybe like my favorite coworker, something like that. Like I know we've had a hard week in the office during the holidays, and I don't know how I'd present it to them. I don't know who else I would do, but I feel like it's very self-explanatory. Where I would just gift it to someone during the holiday season, or maybe someone random, like a random act of kindness.
That's
that
nice.
could be a
Like
fun
paying
one.
it forward.
Paying it forward during the holiday season. Here's some vegan skincare.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And how much do you charge?
Probably 3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Posting, yeah. With the ad usage as well.
Ooh, we're looking at 5 to 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, definitely. What has been your experience when it comes to collaborating with brands?
My experience collaborating with brands has been really positive, which I'm happy about. I haven't had to do any of the management, negotiating, advocating for myself in 2 years because my husband did all my admin for me in 2022. And then 2023, I signed with an agency, and it's been really great to have someone else doing all of the parts that you don't necessarily want to do. And you get to just do the creative part. And so when it comes to the brand collabs, I have been lucky enough with my agency that I just give them a bunch of things I think I might want to do, but they do so much outreach on my behalf without me having to even be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten a lot of jobs that align with my style and my branding, and this year I'm working to even hone in on it even more. So yeah, and make everything more cohesive and make more sense. So yeah, how has it been for you with brands?
Really good, honestly. Again, having management. Oh my God, it's been so nice.
Yeah.
It is so nice. Like people ask sometimes if they should get management, and I can only speak from my experience because I know people that have had managers and it went so poorly with them. I think I just got so lucky with my team. I love them. They're amazing. So working with brands has been really nice, again, because I'm not doing the negotiating. They are, it's incredible. Previously to that, it was still fine. I didn't really have any issues. It was more so just the lack of knowledge on my end. They're like, do you want a whitelist? I'm like, what's whitelisting? I have no idea how much I should be charging. I don't know what I'm saying. Like, you really are just making things up as you go. So it's really nice to have management know what they're talking about and to have a team of lawyers also behind them. So I'm not signing my life away, you know what I'm saying? So it's been really good.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy for you for that because I have had so many friends have horror stories as well. Like so many people that have terrible agencies
and brands drop them because of their management. And you're like,
and I don't know what I would do with that. I was so scared to get an agent for this reason. And when I ended up with mine, it just was perfect. Like I talked to the owner of the company for an hour and a half on the phone from our first just chat to see how the company would work with me. And yeah, we talked for an hour and a half. And I was like, this is great. Like, this is actually really nice. And it's just only gone up from there.
Totally.
So it feels really nice to feel like there's a group of people that are like helping you do what you need to do. So
it makes your job so much easier.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah. It kind of goes into our next question. If you're with management, we both are.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you work on building creator relationships? That's interesting.
Like with other content creators?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I have like a 50-50 with this. So I obviously am not from the UK, obviously, and neither are you. And so a lot of my content friends are not in England. And so when it comes to having friends to do things with or go to events with or meet I struggle a lot because I'm kind of always like, well, I miss my friends that are here or here or here. And so I find sometimes I spiral a little bit, which is not good or healthy. And sometimes I'm like, I have no friends and I have friends. I just am just in my head. Yeah. And I think too is I do have a lot of creator friends, but we don't do the same style. So when it comes to work, I can't just like go shoot with them because they're not going to want to do the same thing as me, which is fine and all well. It's just harder for work. So I go through phases where I try to reach out to people and like have lunch and like do that, and it's nice, and I go to events with people and I love that. But also sometimes I'm missing my friends. Yeah. So yeah.
Totally.
You, how has it been?
Similar, as in I don't have that many creator friends here, but the ones, of course, one of my good friends that I made here, she left Aisha for New York, and I'm so happy for her doing that. But again, most of my creator friends are back home, but I still feel like the people that I follow on social media, I feel like I'm friends with them, like we're all mutuals, and everyone that I've met through social media that I'm mutuals with, like we end up being good friends. I'm like, this makes sense. I loved your content, I love you. It always works out.
Exactly.
So I feel like just following people that I truly enjoy, that's how the relationships are made.
Yeah, it can be hard, especially because we don't have an office to go to. And
not
we're like
we're
not in school anymore, and so you know we can't just like easily meet people. We have to go out of our way to meet people, which can be hard sometimes, especially if you're in a new city. So yeah, it's definitely a process, but you know, it's just
figure it out.
Life,
exactly. What is your highest paid deal?
Yeah, so my highest paid deal is $7,000. So this was last year. I'd worked with the company before, which it was another higher paying deal because of how many deliverables they asked for. It wasn't just like one reel or one video, like it was a lot of work. So fair enough. They sent over 10 looks and they wanted me to do 2 feed posts for an ad, and then they wanted 10 still images, I guess, from each item that they sent over. So basically 8 extra UGC photos for them and 2 ad posts.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and then I think they had usage for like 30 days.
Oh, easy,
So that was my highest deal, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah,
but
you're like,
it wasn't
worth it.
But it was worth it because I do like the company, and you know the quality of their clothes is so great. So I was happy about that. But yeah, my favorite things are UGC, to be honest.
I think when you like the company, it makes a world of difference. I'll take lower rates for sure if I want to work with that company or establish a relationship with them. I'm like, sure, free, okay, you know.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite for just like one collab. So that was nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And what about you? What's your highest deal?
So technically, like flat rate, it was 17K, but with add-on, it was 20K. So since it's the same, it was the same campaign, so 20K. And it was one video, one TikTok, and then 2 sets of Instagram stories. And I think they were either 2 slides or 3 slides each, but I thought that was a phenomenal deal.
No,
like,
I mean, that's amazing.
I was dapping on my manager. I was like, girl, absolutely.
That's
like, that was such a nice deal. So hopefully it can only grow from there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Especially with TikTok, because we were talking about this before we started. Like, the reason why my deals on TikTok are so low is because it's just like not my kind of content. It's not what flourishes on TikTok. Like, people follow me because they like something that's pretty, not because they're, you know, watching for that reason. Like, they're watching your life.
Right.
People don't know that much about me on TikTok other than just like the things I like. They don't know me.
Yeah.
Whereas on Instagram they do.
Interesting.
And that's
I'm so opposite.
I know. It's because I started so long ago. Yeah. Though, so that's fair enough. So I think that's why like I get way more deals for that reason, is because like the audience like actually feels like they have some sort of, you know, friendship with me, which is really great. So whereas on TikTok it's just like random people are seeing it, and I don't get the same response, which is fine.
Yeah. But you know it works for you.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was our highest paid. What's your lowest, and why did you take it?
I took it because it was my first paid deal, and it was $250, and I would do it again.
Yeah.
Because I love the brand that I work with,
That's amazing.
And it did well, and I was just starting out, so like of course I'm going to be excited about $250.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
and like my first paid deal. Yeah. What about yourself?
So I don't remember on the early days, but it definitely was like probably a couple hundred the same. But I will say since I've been full time, my lowest deal was $500. And I took it because I knew that they would probably pay more because I had friends that had worked with them and they did. So every time I worked with them since then, they've added another 500 on.
Okay, that's nice.
So because they wanted to see my content, whereas some companies will be like, let's gift and then see how it goes.
Yes.
They
never reach back out.
Yeah, whereas they
Yeah.
still paid. It was low for my rate, but they still paid. And so I was like, okay, so they're actually willing to at least put something in. They're
Right.
not just trying to gift me something and then like never talk to me again.
Right, gift and
So
ghost.
that is why I accepted it, because I was like, well, I think that it will pan out in the end. So
Totally.
yeah,
Nice. How do you negotiate with brands?
I don't.
Me
anymore.
either. Like my manager, I really just.
But before, I probably
Unless there's
didn't do
things that I
well.
want.
Yeah.
You know, like she'll send things over, and I'll be like, okay, can we work on this if there's anything that we
Yeah.
need to change?
But it's never me actually doing the talking
No.
back and forth in the emails. So, but before, I think that I used to be very soft because I didn't want to lose it,
Same.
especially because I was just starting out with actually getting paid then. And so I would probably not advocate for myself the way that I should have, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that have done this and like just started out. But now, even if I didn't have my agency, I would be probably just as solid as they are because
Yeah.
I've been doing this and I understand the industry. But when you're first starting out, you're like, well, I don't want them to not pay me at all, so I guess I'll take that because I want it and it's cool, or like it's a company I really like. But you probably deserve more than you think you should, especially when you're first starting.
Yeah.
It's usually the rule. So
No, that happened one time. I countered a company, and it was like, "It's a big company." I'm like, first of all, I know you have money.
yeah,
And it was like $400. And then they just ghosted me. And I kept reaching out. I was like, oh, okay, well, guess not then. But it was just what they wanted was so much. Like they wanted to use my media across all their platforms and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, if you pay me. And then they just didn't respond.
course.
And I was like, I'll never work with
They
you again.
always- they
then they reach
always-
out for gifting.
ghost when your rate is too high or they didn't want to pay in the first place, and then they just are like disappearing.
Exactly. They're like, we can start at 150, and I'm like, okay, so 500. Okay, 400. You know.
I appreciate brands that tell you though that your rate is out of their budget and that right now they can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's
I never know who's lying. I never know.
There's certain companies, like there's one that just happened last week, and I had gotten gifting from them like 4 years ago. So I know the company and they are very kind and they're a smaller company, so it's fair. But my manager sent over my rate and they were like, we don't want to offend Nikki at all, but we
Yeah.
have, like, we just can't afford that right now, and we don't want to, you know,
That's
we
nice.
don't
That's
want it to
genuine.
look bad on her, like, we just can't afford it, but in the future, we hope that we can. And I was like, I really appreciate that, and that's the kind of brand that I would take a lower rate for because they do value you. They just, like, can't give you what you're asking for,
Yeah.
but they appreciate it, so, yeah. What's the number one thing you ask brands before a collab?
If I was still negotiating with them, it's just, of course, is it paid or is it gifted?
Yes, that's
If
the
they're not
first
saying that, I'm like, all right, what are
That's
the terms?
always
What are
the
the deals? And if I want to work with the brand and it's just gifted, I'm like, okay, you know, like maybe I will. Or if they're just, you know, hitting me with a low rate, I'm like, it's not worth it at that point. Especially if I'm not fully in love with the brand, I really want to work with them and establish a relationship.
Yeah, definitely that for me as well. I do ask for location.
Okay, that's
now.
so specific.
This
to
is
you.
only because I have had brands go back and say that they are not happy with it because
Okay.
of the location.
Interesting.
And so I've started doing that. I've started asking like, hey, can you send over this or this or this and see what they like? So that way I'm not going out of my way doing something and then knowing I could have done it in a way that they would have preferred,
Yeah.
especially if I could have done it. I'd rather do that. Also, I think it looks good on you because you're kind of giving them the option. And then that way they can't say anything.
Right.
If you
You're
give
like,
them
"I
exactly what they
told you."
wanted, they can't come back and say, we didn't want that.
Yeah.
So I ask that. I also ask iPhone or camera.
Really?
Because most of the time it's iPhone and I prefer that for ease and for editing, because I have to edit a camera photo more than I will have to edit an iPhone photo.
Totally.
And so I do ask that as well.
Oh, you don't mean for videos?
No.
You mean strictly for photos?
Still image.
The way that you think about content is so different. Like, it's so interesting because we're in like the same field, but very different.
Different styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ask for that too, because sometimes, like, I've had friends, I've had me even be told, like, oh, well, we thought it was going to be camera, or we thought it was going to be iPhone, and that's flash. And it's like, well, you didn't say. And so now I just am like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want to have to redo this just because the lay is different than you were expecting.
Yeah, I think that's also like plays into you being heavier on Instagram versus TikTok, and
Yeah,
you vice
on
versa.
TikTok, obviously, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. If they're like, do an unboxing, like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll sit in front of my window and
Yeah.
do that in the living room. But if it's for feed photos, I'm like, what do you want? Like, I need you to tell me exactly if this is okay. I'm sending over my idea. Tell me whether you like it or not.
If anything, mine's just size. Other than that, I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't imagine they would ask me for a camera photo. But again, plays into our content and what
it depends
we
on the
do.
company. Like,
Yeah.
Because if they want to use it for like e-commerce, so if they
That's
want to
it.
use it as a photo on their website, then they probably want it to be a camera.
Yeah.
You know, and so, or if they want it to go in their emails, they probably want it to be a camera
camera.
photo.
Yeah.
You just don't know exactly. And if they're paying for just like 30, 60, 90 days of usage, they can use it on whatever. So I'm going to give them what they actually are paying for. So do you diversify your income as a creator? And if so, how?
I've been trying to more lately. I don't want to do it in a way that spreads myself too thin, and
Yeah.
then I'm just doing things, again, just taking jobs just to take them. But I would say mainly through affiliate links, of course, and then, of course, brand deals. And then I'm a stylist on an app called Index.
Oh, cool.
I'd say that's my main thing that I do, and I'll probably look into other just like avenues to make money, but right now I'm like very settled with what I have.
That's amazing.
What about you?
I am the same, so affiliate links and brand clubs, obviously. I also rent out almost all my dresses,
Really?
all of them,
That
because
makes, I mean, it makes sense because you said ball gowns.
and not all of them are that. Like, I have a lot of House of CB dresses.
Okay.
And like things that people want to use for one event, but they don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So like if they're a wedding guest or they have a party, Christmas, something like Valentine's Day. So I rent out basically every dress that I have.
Wow.
Also my bags, like I do that as well. No one's ever rented bags because they are looking for clothes usually, but my coats, like anything that is still in stock, because if they do damage it or it gets lost, the company will pay for the cost of the item. So I can
Okay.
rebuy it if something
That was my
goes
question.
crazy.
Yeah.
They also pay for the shipping, they pay for the dry cleaning. They, you know, if they rip it and I have to get it stitched, they pay for that. So kind of like there's no loss really,
Yeah.
like because you always can get it back. So yeah, because I have so many. I have
That's smart.
suitcases full of dresses. I have my clothes in our closet. I have them in the second room closet. I have them under the bed because we have one of those lifty beds.
Yeah, you should maybe just start a dress brand.
I mean,
I don't know.
but
I don't want to get into that.
That's a bit much right now. But yeah, so I rent out everything on by rotation or her.
Okay, I was
You
going to ask if
can-
it was by rotation.
Yeah, so you can rent out anything over like 70 or 90. I don't remember which one, but it's under 100 pounds.
Okay.
Anything over that, you can rent things out.
That's nice.
So the second I get stuff, if I've shot in it and like I don't need it, I'm like, all right, I do need it, but I don't want to get rid of it because I also don't want to get rid of things, but they're taking up space. So yeah,
Put them to
renting.
use. Look at
Yeah,
that.
that's my main like other source.
Yeah,
is that.
that's a good one. All right. So what is your final message to content creators or anyone looking to become a content creator?
Okay, yeah, so the space is so different and it's always changing.
Yeah.
When I started, TikTok didn't exist. People were YouTubers. Instagram was like, you know, it was there, but there weren't that many people. There was like Chiara Ferrani and Italy and like just like other people, and a lot of them were European. There weren't a lot of American girls. There were some, but they were like mom bloggers.
Gosh, mom bloggers really, they went through it.
Yeah, and so that's what was happening when I started. And so it was a completely different world. People were bloggers, so I started a blog.
Yeah.
Like
Vlogging was huge.
Which is so crazy. I could never imagine doing that now. And so the space is always changing, so you have to kind of evolve or else you get lost.
Yeah.
Like with people that still don't post on TikTok, they lost such a big audience. And I understand if you're not a video person and you want to stick to what you're good at, that's fine. But you will lose out on things. So
Absolutely.
when there are new things coming, like adapt them. If there's a new feature on apps, use them. Do everything you can to keep evolving. And it's hard. It's not like, it's not easy and it never will be. So keep that in mind, and make sure that if it's something you want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Don't just do it because, you want to make money.
Exactly.
Because it's not going to happen.
And you can always tell, and like, it's so obvious when you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to make a bunch of money. I'm going to go viral.
There's going to be so many times where you're not gaining followers. People aren't seeing your content. People aren't caring about you because they just aren't seeing it. And like, just unfortunately, just have to get over it.
Yeah.
Like, it's harder than it sounds.
If you can't get
like,
over it,
it's
then
harder than it really is.
Yeah.
Get over it and like just keep going through it. And there's ups and downs all the time. So
all the time. Yeah, you also just can't control the algorithm.
yeah, you can't control most things.
Relinquishing control is like one of the biggest
That's
things.
the hardest part of this job is you're not in control of the money you make or what you're in control of asking and putting content out, but the company is in charge of how much they will actually give you, and that is always like actually the hardest.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say my final message is to just post. Because people are like, how do I post? What do I do? What do I share? I'm like, you just have to post. I don't know what else to tell you. Because the only way you're going to figure out the content that you like to post, the content that does well, anything at all, is by posting, getting over the nerves of posting. You have to post. People are like, I just don't know.
Or they're like embarrassed and they're like, it's cringy. And I'm like, just do it. Like, whatever.
But you have to do it. Like, do it through the cringe, do it through the hate, do it through whatever. Yeah. So my biggest tip would just be to post, just start, and then you figure it out because there's only so much planning you can do pre-posting.
Exactly. Have you got anything coming up in the future?
Nope. Not really. Hopefully a collab with a brand, like a special edit with them.
Nice.
But other than that, nothing on the horizon. What about you?
Yeah, no, I had something coming and then it's not gonna happen now. So like, that's annoying that I can't share that.
Yeah.
But for me, I think what's exciting is that I'm going to be planning more trips, which is really nice. And I'm gonna go home a few more times this year. So go to the US, which is good. Like most of my audience is US based. And yeah, I don't really know. Like Fashion Week is in a couple days.
Yeah,
not too much. Does that count? I don't know.
Sure, why not? There's not too much going on, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, where can people find you online? Tell us Instagram, TikTok, all your platforms.
So Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, all the Nikki Rossi. That's it on everything. Yeah.
Perfect.
And you?
Same for me, except I'll add YouTube to that. And I'm Lady Diana May across the board.
Nice.
A big thank you to Creators on Creators for having both Nikki and I on the episode today.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Follow Creators on Creators and make sure you come to the next one.
Wow.